We did see some heavy flooding across low-lying areas of Jefferson and St. John parishes.
And LaPlace got hit especially hard. Evan Narani is there live this morning with more on the story. Hey, Evan.
Hey, good morning. That's right. We are in LaPlace right now, and I got to tell you, just driving through even this morning, it's tough to know where that water is still elevated and where there are where there is flooding happening, and that's what we've been seeing this morning. So we traveled along I-10. As you guys mentioned, I-10 is back open. You can head west and east, at least farther than you could yesterday. Yesterday they had that blocked at the Williams Boulevard exit. You couldn't even head closer to the airport from the 10 westbound lanes. They had those completely blocked off. But now this morning, we're at one of the gas stations, and right behind us you can see some of that flooding. We want to show you some of the video of the flooding that took place yesterday. So it was pretty severe across the day yesterday. They had rescue operations underway trying to help people get out of their homes that were stranded at the time that storm was passing through. There were residents that were comparing that to Katrina at times in LaPlace, saying that flooding was getting into their homes and up through their homes. They said it was reminiscent of Katrina. Dispatchers at the time were answering, but saying it wasn't safe for emergency crews to be on the road at that time. St. John Parish president did say that she wanted to help as soon as conditions were safe to do so, but she said right now it's just not safe to be out there in the elements. Meanwhile, those cries for help were pouring in on social media. People on social media chiming in saying they had toddlers with them in attics as those floodwaters rose in their LaPlace homes. People on Facebook also chimed in and said similar things. So this morning, we've seen a lot of utility crews that have come through that are continuing to try to help kind of rebuild the situation here. Not only do we have flooding as a top concern, but also wind damage. We've seen power poles that are just tilted to the side that look like they're pretty close to even continuing to come down with these floodwaters around them. So this morning, utility crews have been coming by. It's obviously still very dark out, so once the sun comes up, we'll have a better picture, as we did yesterday morning, of the damage that's been left after Hurricane Ida. On our way here, we passed a Shell gas station that was pretty much completely flooded, and there are still exit lanes across the 10 westbound that are continuing to remain closed. So there were a lot of closures along the way here coming from New Orleans, and that was where we saw the majority of police on the highway, as opposed to where we are right now on those surface streets. Still a good amount of flooding behind us, but we'll send things back to you for now. I can answer any questions you guys have, but it looks like we're going to continue to just kind of wait until the sun comes up here to examine what's going on this morning to see if flood conditions have improved from yesterday.
Evan, great, because that's one of the areas we really wanted to get a look at. So I'm glad you're going to stay till the sun comes up. Sunday night, that was one of the dire situations. We did see all those calls on social media, people knowing their loved ones were trapped in houses with the rising water. You mentioned those rescues yesterday. Everybody was able to get rescued?
From what we know, yes. We haven't been alerted otherwise if there are people still remaining, but so far this morning we haven't seen any police vehicles that are still continuing those operations, at least where we are. We do still see some areas where lanes are blocked off, obviously, because of that flood water, but it seems as if yesterday they were able to get to the homes that they needed to, as they were waiting, of course, through about Saturday night for Ida to pass through. They said at that time that it was going to be difficult for any of those rescue crews to get to where they needed to go. If you were trapped in your home. So the people who entered their attic, for example, and who entered, the top levels of their homes apparently were able to get rescued yesterday. We haven't heard this morning of anyone who was still trapped in their homes.
And we haven't heard any reports of any injuries that you know of.
So far, no. We haven't heard of any reports of injuries. Again, the top thing here, it seems like, is as you're driving through LaPlace, is to watch out on the roads, as there are still some areas where it's not completely blocked off. You can still essentially drive into some of the flood waters there, and that's, for example, right behind us. You can pull in through this area, but obviously completely flooded. So still take caution, of course, ahead of the sunrise while you're driving through, as you could be entering some of those flood waters. But across the highway where there is still flooding, those areas look to still be blocked off by Louisiana State Police.
Yeah, that's right. Don't go into those floodwaters, because Governor Edwards did report yesterday another death of somebody who drove into some floodwaters and drowned in New Orleans.
And Evan, you mentioned the interstate is back open, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, so yesterday we were at the Williams Boulevard exit, and that was where all lanes were shut down on the westbound lanes headed toward the airport. And so no one was able to continue westbound. This morning we continued past that Williams Boulevard exit, and now we're in LaPlace. We made it all the way through here. When I talked to the Louisiana State Police officer who was there, he said that westbound lanes are all back open now. You can continue on on Highway 10 West. However, there are some of those exits along the way that are still blocked off. I think it was as well Interstate 55 that they still had blocked off going toward Baton Rouge. That was continuing to remain closed because of the flooding. But we were at least able to continue on here, get off on the exit, and now just driving through, you can still see the main roads themselves are doing okay. But once you get onto some of the surface streets and the kind of side streets, that's where you start to see some of that major flooding still taking place.
Awesome, Evan. It's April here. Thank you. Are you positive that the interstate is open for all residents and people, or just media and emergency crews? Because I do want to specify that for our
They
viewers.
are open. They're open for all. They don't have those lanes blocked off anymore. What we did is we pulled off the 55. Highway 55 is where we pulled off to talk to one of the officers, and that's where it's still completely blocked off. But if we had wanted to, we could have just continued to travel on. We chose to pull off to the side to talk to one of those officers because that was one of the areas where yesterday it was blocked off. So you can at least continue to travel westbound toward LaPlace. We haven't continued farther west toward Baton Rouge, so it is possible that farther down the way they've kept things blocked off. But what we saw was just off of the side of I-10 was where we kind of could look off the side and see flooding still taking place, but we could continue ourselves through those 10 westbound lanes.
All right, Evan, thank you so very much for that information. Very helpful. We appreciate you.